You're not your thoughts. And this is something that I've been thinking about all day today. On the way to the gym, when I was getting my hair cut, when I was driving back, so I'm like, okay, I have to make this video. Because if you guys don't know, when I make these kind of videos, there's no script, there's no read this off, there's really no plan. I'm just kind of speaking from my mind, from my heart, from my soul, and just hope that it lands with at least one person that watches this video. But I'm making this video because this is something that has helped me in so many different ways, especially when I was like back as that younger kid who was super insecure, freaking 90 pounds, always thought that he'd always be this person that no one ever respected, X, Y, and Z. The moment that you're able to realize that your thoughts aren't your own, or that you're not defined by your thoughts, or you don't have to submit to the thoughts that are going on in your head, is the moment to where you can drastically change your life, right? Like for me, like I said, I was 90 pounds. I was ridiculously insecure. I wasn't desired by women. I wasn't respected by the other guys around me. I was treated like I was a joke. And because of this, I kind of submitted to this echo chamber that I had going on in my head. That's the way that I like to call it, or the way that I like to describe it, because it does so perfectly. Because when you're going through, I'm not sure if you guys are in the same boat, or if you were in the same boat, when you're going through something and everybody else around you is constantly telling you something that you really don't want to hear. Like for me, it's like, oh, you're always going to be skinny. You're always going to be this midget that nobody respects. Like I was 5'1" in high school. Thank God I'm 5'9" now. I'm happy with my height now. But dude, I was like being told, oh, you're a midget. No girl's ever going to want you. You're always going to be skinny. Like your genetics are the only reason why you're stuck, this, and that. And I would believe those thoughts, and then it would kind of cause this chain reaction of, I would hear something from someone else and I would internalize it. And then I would repeat that same thing to myself on a consistent basis. And then after enough time has passed, I have multiple of these negative thoughts that are just bouncing around in my mind. And after you kind of train your subconscious mind, which is something that I'm going to get into as I keep talking to you guys, because that's a big pillar in this video. When you train your subconscious mind to do this on a consistent basis, and you literally trained your brain to be negative, you've trained your brain to victimize yourself, you've trained your brain to basically amplify the pain that you're feeling, or amplify the negativity that you're feeling on a consistent basis, that just kind of becomes who you are, what you're used to. And for years, this is the cycle that I was in, and that's why I went from, just being a little bit sad to being super depressed, and then even attempting to end my life multiple times, because this echo chamber, it may sound, basic, or like it may sound like, oh, it's no big deal, but once you're actually in it for months and months on end, and you feel like you can't escape it, it pushes you deep down into a depression. And then if you get deep enough into that depression, you start to feel, or at least I started to feel, like suicide was the only way to escape that pain, which obviously it's not. It's never the answer, because at the end of the day, that's a permanent solution to a temporary piece of pain that you're feeling right now, or a temporary problem. It's very important for you guys to know that. But nothing was really able to change until I realized that I didn't have to submit to these thoughts. I didn't have to be, the version of myself that my subconscious mind was telling me to be. And the moment that I was able to realize that these thoughts are just noise, these thoughts are just kind of like you're tuning into a radio station. All right, let's say you have an old car and you're on a radio. I don't use a fucking radio anymore, but let's say you're trying to tune into a radio station, and you turn the dial and you're tuning into like 93.1, and it's playing some, music that you don't like. What do? You're like, okay, I don't like this, so let me change the tune, right? And then you change the tune until, the frequencies align with a radio station that is actually what you want to hear. And it may seem like, oh, no, duh, I don't want to hear that song, so of course I'm going to change the station. But why are you doing the complete opposite when it comes to what's going on in your mind on a consistent basis? You're acting as if you don't have the dial in your mind to change the station when you don't like the song that is playing in your head, or your thoughts. I hope you guys are catching what I'm putting down, or picking up what I'm putting down, right? In the moment that you're able to realize that you have the power to do that, that's when you can change, like I said. So when I realized that, and I started actually implementing you know, the right things for me to change, like going to the gym or getting a coach, or, you know, being around new people, or even just changing my habits, like what I was listening to, you know, what I was consuming, what I was watching, what I was doing. Everything changed because I realized that I didn't have to submit to this identity that, you know, I didn't want for myself. I didn't have to be just this, you know, this skinny joke, basically, or this little joke, basically. And once I realized that, it's so windy out here. Once I realized that was a moment so much changed, because then you go from being this basically helpless person in a car that's trapped listening to music that they hate, right, to becoming the person that knows, that is aware that they can change the dial and adjust the frequencies to a tune that they enjoy. And when you are able to do this, and this, I'm gonna run with this example because it's kind of aligns perfectly, then you can enjoy the ride much more. Then you don't have to hear these thoughts that you really don't want to hear anymore. Yeah, it's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take, you know, you sitting down and meditating and training yourself to, you know, not grasp onto these negative thoughts, because in reality, it's a muscle that you have to build. Your mind's a machine. Your mind is going to do whatever you train it to do, like a good fucking dog would. You know what I mean? Or like an AI would, or like a machine would. If over time, and this is a great example of this, if over time, you know, hey, when I do X thing, I also do Y thing. After a long enough time, it becomes so solidified in your subconscious that you kind of just do it on autopilot. And for me, when I sit down and I'm, you know, just basking in the sun, you know, getting my vitamin D, obviously, I'm not telling you guys to fucking do this, but over time, I've associated this activity with this activity. So when I sit down in the sun, I automatically think, all right, let me light up a cig, or let me make a video. And it's the same thing with your mind when it comes to anything, right? Like, you can see this in so many different ways. Like, if you're on the road and you know that you're prone to road rage, right? When someone cuts you off in traffic, you have a split second to make a decision on whether or not you're going to act on what you've trained your subconscious mind to do, which is what, I don't know, honk, road rage at them, fucking try to drive them off the road. Obviously, it's just like a normal or like a weird example, but you guys are seeing what I'm saying, right? You don't have to be a victim to thoughts that aren't even you. You don't have to sit down and accept thoughts that make you feel less than. You don't have to, you know, sit down and accept thoughts that are basically putting you in this sort of mindset to where you're coping all the time, right? You can change that tune in your head, and after you know, flex this muscle or train this muscle enough, then you automatically become a more positive person. You automatically become the person that's like facing a certain situation to where, let's say, things aren't really going the way that you want, and after applying this, you're able to say, okay, what can I learn from this situation? What's the positive that I can view, and how can I continue to move forward in a way that's actually going to build me into becoming the man that I want to be, right? Whether this is fitness, whether this is in your relationship, anything that you do, at the end of the day, we're constantly having thoughts run through our mind, and the moment that you're able to realize you have power over them is a moment to where you're going to have so much more power over your life. And I know I keep repeating the same thing, but I really want you guys to understand this and really get where I'm saying, or get where I'm coming from, because yeah, it may seem very simple, but if you really sit down and think about why you think about what you think about, you're going to realize that, damn, you know, maybe I have this, you know, subconscious training that I've embedded into myself that's forced me to look in the mirror and think that I'm less than and I don't have the power to do X, Y, and Z, right? Or let's say, you know, literally any thought that you have, right? If you have a thought where it's like, oh, I'm always going to be alone, I'm always going to be that, I'm always going to be that, and then, you know, you put yourself in this kind of depressive loop to where you're like, oh, I'm always going to be lonely, or I'm never going to achieve this, I'm never going to do that. You need to sit down and think about why. Where does that stem from? Where does that come from? Where was the first time, or what was the first time you had that thought, and why? And then once you get underneath that surface, go deeper. Then ask yourself, okay, well, why do I do this thing? Okay, now why do I do that thing? And then before you know it, you're going to get to the root, and you're either going to realize one of two things. One, you know, this thought or this mindset is built on a complete foundation of lies that I've continued to tell myself. Or two, yeah, you know, maybe this is true. Like maybe you are skinny, maybe you are insecure, maybe you are overweight. But let's say that foundation of that, or the root of that, is like some hopelessness that stems from your childhood, or you know, some mindset that you just accepted because someone said this one thing to you and you never recovered from it. But the good thing about this is once you're able to get to the root, and once you're able to understand that you don't have to continue to submit to these thoughts, that's, like I said time and time again, where you have the power to change them. But until then, you're always going to be helpless. You're always going to be like a tumbleweed being thrown around in your own mind, because you've opted into exactly that. You've opted into the subconscious taking complete control over your emotions, rather than consciously choosing actions that are going to override that subconscious and train it to do something else, right? And the moment that you're able to change this, like I said, and I'll say it again, is when you can change everything. Anyway, I love you guys. This is a short video. I've been getting so much love recently. It's actually insane. I've been getting so many DMs from you guys saying that I've been helping you, or you know, my videos have been inspiring. And so I'm just going to continue to make them, right? If you guys have any questions, shoot me a text on Instagram at Isaiah Yee. If you want to work with me one-on-one to build a physique of your dreams, obviously I'm a fitness coach. You can do that as well. It'll be in the description. Or if you just go on my channel, go to the description, you can see everything that I have to provide. But anyway, I love you guys. See ya. I'm going to sit in the sun for a little bit longer, but I hope this video could help in some way, shape, or form, even if it was just a little bit. All right, peace.